the act of naming. Dear Earth, we were outside in the dark when my daughter asked me how old you were.
How many years ago?
Oh, my darling, I don't know. 4.5 billion years approximately, more or less.
Earth began?
Yeah.
That's right. A long time ago.
It is.
And tell me.
Yeah, what?
What tree is that? Over there, the big one.
That one? Oh, well, that's searching for the name of the tree silhouetted against the night sky. I was momentarily disorientated, disconnected. Earth. In English, your name begins in the throat and it ends with the tongue on teeth and lips. Earth, earth, earth. It travels through the mouth like breath. Say it over and over, it becomes like the sound you make from the effort of digging. Earth, earth. But where this name Earth comes from, its origin, we don't really know. And ground? Soil? Soil. I have soil under my nails as I return to work in the city, on the train, because I was planting potatoes in our garden. Earth. To show my children where they come from, those potatoes, and where I will end up. I want for them to be able to see all that is around them, to know and to name what grows here on you, Earth. Because to name is to know. Because with naming comes a narrative. And the word narrative comes from the word gnaris, which means knowing. When we no longer have names, we no longer have a story. We no longer know. And a connection is broken. The chain of events is ruptured and we become, perhaps, lost. Because telling stories is how we orientate ourselves in the world. And I know it takes 12.2 hectares of land to support each American citizen, and 6.2 for each Briton. And the figure for Burundi is just half an acre per person. But that is another story that we have to tell. And now as I close my eyes, I go back 55 years, when we would sleep on the ground outside, on the hottest summer nights, when I was 6, in sleeping bags, no tent, under the open sky, all of us in a row. My mother, father, brother, sister, our backs on the earth. I could feel the shape on my spine through the brownish, and we would gaze at the stars and the immensity beyond our earth, disconcerting. Those stars are the ones that twinkle, my brother would say. Oh, I know that, I lie. But what are their names? My brother knew much more than I did. He still does. I don't know their names. There's too many stars. Well, we know the names of the planets, don't we? Yes, he said. And the planets don't, I know they don't twinkle. No, they don't stay still. Oh. The word planet comes from Greek planetai, to wander, wandering stars. We were all wanderers first, all over our own wandering star, every corner of it. In the dark, we looked up and began to read the night sky. As John Berger says, those who first invented and then named the constellations were storytellers, tracing an imaginary line between a cluster of stars gave them an image and an identity. The stars threaded on that line were like events threaded on a narrative. Imagining the constellations did not, of course, change the stars, nor did it change the black emptiness that surrounds them. What it changed was the way people read the night sky. "Look, there's Venus," said my brother, "and that cluster of stars, you see those, they're called the Pleiades." And suddenly the earth, hard under the ground sheet, felt somehow reassuring, supportive, certain. But to be unable to name is to be cut off, because then we cannot read. We cannot read. If we cannot read, we cannot connect or orientate ourselves or know that story you, our earth, is telling us. In his book, Landmarks, Robert Macfarlane tells of this power of naming and equally the dispossession of losing names. Such as in the Oxford Junior Dictionary, which culled words concerning nature, no longer felt to be relevant to a modern-day childhood. Words such as acorn, adder, ash, buttercup, cowslip, dandelion, fern, hazel, lark, newt, otter, pasture, willow. New words were introduced, like block graph, blog, broadband, celebrity, because this reflected, said the editors, the experience of modern-day childhood, in which seasons are no longer seen and the environment of rural or wild nature is now disposable. Earth, you are insistently telling us an urgent narrative of loss. To notice this loss, we must name it. The names must come back to remind us that we are all part of nature, even as we gaze at our screens, apparently separate from the seasons, cowslips, newts, ferns, and adders. We are all part of nature all the time, and we cannot escape it, just as we cannot escape the planet. And then, for a moment, my daughter in the dark, more than half a century later, as I sense her, I feel lost. The loss of knowing where you are when you have no name for what you see.
So what's that tree called?
Ash. It's an ash. It's an ash. And look, you see above the branches? There, that little cluster of stars just up there. Do you see? Yeah? They're called the Pleiades.
The Pleiades.
I can't believe I even hesitated on the name of that tree. My daughter slips her hand into mine, she squeezes it, and my heart skips a beat. Skips a beat because we have declared a climate emergency. But emergency is not a word of panic. Emergency is a word whose root is emergere, arise, bring to light. We are simply naming what we know to bring to light the true narrative of what is happening to us now. Earth. As I feel you under our feet when we look up at the night sky, I know that declaring an emergency is only the beginning. Now we need to act, rediscover the names and craft them into chants of power that can change the world.
Acorn, adder, ash, buttercup,